Hello and welcome to another fun-filled episode from Berkshire Guitar Amplifier Repairs here in Reading, England. And I've got an unusual, quirky little amp today. I thought you might like to see it. It's a Scala, S-C-A-L-A. I've never heard of it before. 1960s thing, similar I suppose to a Selmer, you know, those quite cheap and cheerful amplifiers. Made right down to a budget, but hugely collectible these days, and this is worth a fair old bit of money. I'm never quite sure why, but there you go. So this one the customer has bought to me without any valves, and we don't really know what the state of it is. I think he might have bought it in a sale or something. So let's have a little look around it and see if we can resurrect it back to life. Well, here's the front of it. It's in quite good condition actually. The grill cloth's very nice. I don't know whether it's had new grill cloth, but if that's the original 60s, that's amazing. Nothing on the top. There are no controls on the top, just a couple of controls on the side here, look. And the knobs are missing. Looks like we've got, what have we got here? Oh, an off-on control. Not sure if that works. Yeah, that does work. It's not very positive, that. 2 volumes by the looks of it, maybe volume 1, volume 2. And a tone control, so maybe it's just like 2 inputs and a tone, very simple. Round the back, what have we got? Okay, so a Goodman speaker, that's the original, and that's just the back of the controls there. Chassis in the bottom. I think that'll probably come out via these 4 screws here, and maybe that one there needs to come out, and then hopefully the whole chassis will come out. So I think the chassis will come out by probably 4 screws here, and maybe this one up here, not totally sure. Chassis should come forward. We've got 3 valves. One's a preamp valve, one's an EL84. I think that's the EL84, almost certainly. And then there's a rectifier valve, which is an EZ81. Beg your pardon, an EZ80. I had an EZ81 in stock, and but I thought I'd get a proper EZ80 for it, so that's just arrived. I've got the package here to open with that in, and there's not much difference between the EZ80 and the EZ81. I think the EZ81 needs a bit more heater current or something, so I didn't really want to mess with the the design of the thing or put any stress on the mains transformer. So I think I suppose we could bung some valves in and see if it works. Yeah, why not? I'm sort of tempted to see if it actually does fire up. So let's put the new rectifier valve in, put an ECC83 in there, and see if it works. Why not? Live dangerously. And here's the EZ80, new old stock, quite old. Yugoslavia, lovely looking kind of a Soviet era box. So this valve was probably, I don't know, might even be 30, 40, 50 years old, I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll chuck it in here. There we go. Hope that EL84 is alright, and I'll put in just a gash ECC83 from my stash. I've got loads of working, tested good ECC83s. We're not bothered at the moment, just want to see if the thing works. There we go. Right, mains plug's going to have to be changed at some point. It's not now up to the latest safety standards, but let's just plug it in and see what happens. Right, we're plugged in and switched on. Not much sign of life though. Can't even see any glow out the valves. Nothing there. I wonder if that main switch is working. That's it there, that red and black. Yeah, alright, well, not a good start. let's see if that main switch is working. Okay, the main switch is working. There's a short circuit across the thing, that's alright. I can't measure any AC up there though. And I've checked the plug on the end of the lead here, that's all okay. Doesn't seem to be getting any AC down here. So I think we can't really do much more. We'll just pull the chassis, I think, and follow this in here and see what's happening on the other end of this mains cable. Yeah, well, we've immediately got a big problem here. This chassis is held on by, 4 bolts, one there, one there, one here and one here. So you think, okay, that's no problem, I'll just turn the thing on the side and undo the nuts, bolts, and then absolutely nothing there. So those bolts are captive in there. I put a bit of WD-40 on there and try to rotate it, and the whole bolt just turns. That's all seized up. And these are completely impossible to get to. There's about 3mm gap down there, no, maybe 5 gap down there. You can't even get your finger in, let alone I can just about on the end of my finger feel the equivalent bolt there, which is about there on here, and on this one that's the width of my finger, that gap down there, and it's about here on there. You couldn't get a tool down there to undo that. I've no idea how that chassis was put in, and it isn't going to come out easily. The baffle might come out, but does the baffle come out backwards? You can't get the baffle out without taking the chassis out, because it won't come past here. And the baffle doesn't come out forwards because it's screwed in here. Look, I haven't a clue how to get this out of here. Okay, I've managed to get that nut off there. This one is just rotating the bolt. However, I notice there's this kind of U-shaped channel there, so it may be that if we can get that one off there, the rear might kind of slot into its mountings at the back and not require undoing of the nuts, we should hope. But at the moment I can't get this off because it's an unusual nut size. It's not BA or anything. It'll be some 19/402 of an inch or something, you know what I'm trying to say. I don't have a spanner for it. I can grip the top of the bolt there with some mole grips and just about get a spanner on there, but I haven't got the right spanner, so I'm just going to leave that to soak in WD-40 overnight, and we'll revisit it tomorrow and see if it's going to play ball with us. So it took me the best part of a half an hour to get that bolt off there by a variety of tricks and things. I had to make myself a spanner to do it, and sort of get some small pliers and hold the bolt whilst I undid it quarter turn by quarter turn. Anyway, eventually that came off, and I do take it all back. This just joggles in underneath this rather weird, bizarre homebrew strip here. So yeah, so you don't have to undo those two there. So I won't worry now about how I repair this. In the end, we'll just carry on fixing the amp and deal with that later. So I'm just going to desolder these leads here so that I can get the chassis out and upside down, and we'll have a look at what's going on underneath. Here we are on the underside. Super original look. Absolutely every resistor and capacitor is as it was when this was made. So the first thing I want to do is to put a meter on here and see if there's any mains coming in, because it's awfully dead at the moment. Yeah, just having a nice cup of tea, and that's the mug I got when they pulled down my old school in Weston-super-Mare. Weston-super-Mare Grammar School for Boys it used to be called. Got renamed to Western County Grammar. Anyway, that's pulled down now with nothing there at all, not even a building, it's just a playing field. So, a sip of tea to fortify me. I'm going to plug this in and see if the AC volts on the meter there. I'm just going to have a little dab on here and see what's going on, because it is totally dead, this. And where are we? Yeah, oh, there is voltage there. There's mains there. There you go. You can see a bit better now. So we've got 240 volts across here. Yeah. Okay, there is mains coming in. Might be coming in, but I'm not sure it's coming out anywhere. It's completely dead, this amp. Oh, tell a lie. We have glowing valves now. Definitely didn't have that before. Those valves are on now. They were definitely not on before. How strange. Now let's park that one for the moment. Right, I'll turn it off at the mains. It's possible we were plugged into a socket which wasn't working or something. Anyway, what I'm going to want to do is I want to get a speaker attached to here, just like this. And I'd just like to see if it's working. So it's nice if an amp is actually basically working, because then you can just improve it. But if it's completely not working, then you have to do some troubleshooting. Right, that's the speaker connected. Plug it back in. Go. Turn up the volume. Ooh, sounds kind of amplifier-ish, which is good. Let's plug something in. See if we can get any sound out of it. Well. Basically works. Bit on the grungy side, but you might expect that from an amp like this. Oh, that's great news. Let's turn it off. So now it's just really a question of what we replace in here. This is going to require another sip of tea. No, inspiration still hasn't come. Okay, so things we should think about replacing. The HT can, well, you know, of course that should be replaced, but it's basically working. There are no signs of leaking, and you know, it depends what you want to do, really. I certainly would like to replace these two 16 microfarads electrolytics. Then we can have a little think about what else. I mean, of course you couldn't replace every component on this because there's only a handful of components. So I might want to ask the customer what his view is on how much to spend on the amp. Definitely will do those two. Tempted to leave the HT cap alone, funnily enough. I mean, the amp's basically working. A lot depends on, you know, what you want to do with an amp like this. Bring it back up to original showroom condition, or just get it working so you can have some fun playing it. This is all down to the customer, really. So I think I'll probably next port of call is to give him a call and see. And I'm going to replace these two 16 microfarads at 275 volts with a couple of 22 microfarads at 450 volts. I don't have anything lower voltage than that in the HT department, so they'll sit in there quite nicely, and there'll be a slight upgrade too, which is good. Just give it a little bit more smoothing. Then I'm going to check some of these resistor values, and then I want to check these three coupling capacitors and maybe that disc there for leakage, and maybe replace those, and then probably call it a day at that. I want to make sure the chassis is earthed, which it probably is, but yeah, that's good. and we'll be putting a new mains plug on at some point. So let's make a start on these here, these two. Okay, that one's in, and I'll just do that one now, and I won't bother videoing that, and then we'll try it again. I always like to try the amp each time I change a couple of components. That's all working nicely, good. Tone, does tone work? Ooh, quite violent. Tone works. Good. Just out of interest, what voltage do we have across these electrolytics? They were rated at 275, and we've got there's 278 volts across those two, and we were originally rated at 275, so that's very bad. Across that one, 200. So they're now 450 volts, and they've been upgraded too, so that's a real improvement. Great. Let's disconnect this again. So I may take a view on changing that volume control or not, as the case may be. I've got one on order. Actually, it seems to be working all right now. I might leave it. Yeah, okay. Alrighty ho, so let's just check that we have not got much voltage on these caps anymore. 16 volts, yeah, that's okay. So that's all decayed away quite nicely. We're all safe to work on. We're unplugged. So I've been around all the resistors with this nice hierarchy auto ranging DVM. It's very good for just testing resistor values. They're all pretty much okay. A lot of them are on the high side, but not excessively so. However, I don't like this 82k resistor here. There are two of them, and I suspect they're both in the anodes, the anode load resistors for the preamp valves. So if we go on to this one here, you can see it's like 85k, 84.9, that's perfectly okay. Let's go on to this one though. And that's 116k. Don't like that at all. That's like way too high, it's about 30% too high. So I'm just going to replace that one resistor there, and then we'll have a look at the capacitors. Okay, there we go, that's that nice 82k resistor in. Let's just measure the... Right, not sure if you can see that meter. Hard to get it where it doesn't glare. Anyway, let's quickly measure this resistance here. 82k, perfect. That was a long way off, you see. Like 30-40% off. You won't hear any difference when we turn the amp on. But it's best to get the one right. And just to prove it, let's put the meter on this one. 115k, that 82k resistor. A long way off. Good, okay, so that's good. I think I'm going to turn the amp on again just because I'm cautious like that. I've said it on videos before, nothing worse than changing 5 components and you think you've done it correctly, you turn the amp on, it just doesn't work. And you think, oh no, which one of those 5 was the problem? You have to start backtracking. So I typically do it 1 component or 2 at a time. Yep, that's working. Very grungy. That's quite a nice sound actually. I wonder what that sounds like on the original speaker. Let's do that. Let's connect up the little speaker in here and see what it sounds like on there. Right, that's the internal speaker. Goodman's hooked up rather than my workshop speaker. A nice kind of grungy sound. It's got virtually no clean headroom, which is what we'd expect from a single EL84. Yeah. Now that comment I just made there about it being, a single EL84 Class A, which it is, made me suddenly think, hang on a minute, that will then have a cathode resistor and a cathode bypass capacitor across the resistor, and of course here it is. I hardly looked at it, I just kind of assumed that these were 0.1s or something, but of course they're not. They're 50 microfarads at 12 volts, 2 of them. Here is that 150 ohm resistor there is the cathode resistor in the tail of the EL84, and this capacitor is bypassing all the AC to ground, so that's definitely going to be changed. I'm going to change that one, I'm going to change that one. I hadn't realised they were electrolytics, so without a doubt those two are going to need changing. So let's do that next. And that little excursion also made me double check the value of this 150 ohm cathode resistor, and it's 170 ohms. So I think I'm going to change that as well, because that affects the bias current going through the EL84. Yeah, we may as well have that right. So I'm going to change those two, and then this one here. Not quite sure what this one's doing. Might be something on the preamp side. I think it probably is. Hard to. Okay, I've replaced that 150 ohm resistor and that capacitor. I put a 100 microfarad 63 volts in there instead of the 50 microfarad. And that will give it just a little bit more bass response. I doubt it'll be noticeable, but anyway, it certainly won't hurt making that 100 microfarads and upping the voltage. Good, so now I'm just going to change that 150 ohm resistor, which is also about 170 ohms, that 150 ohm resistor, and this is actually a 25 microfarads at 25 volts. So that's a standard bypass electrolytic for a preamp stage, so that'll be what that is. So let's change those 3, and then we'll probably call it a day on that. Okay, I've changed that 150 ohm and the 50 microfarad, which I changed for 100 microfarad. That was 1K5, I think I said 150 ohms. It's a typical 1K5 in the cathode of a preamp valve, and I've put another 25 microfarad at 25 volts across there, slightly different size from the original. And this 1K5 here is about 1K6, so I think I'm just going to leave that. My only question mark now is this capacitor here, the Hunt's one, and also this little disc here. You know, are they okay or are they leaking? So I might just have a quick look at those, and then I think we're pretty much ready to call it a day on this. Doesn't sound any better, by the way. I played a guitar through it, so absolutely no difference at all. But there you go. So let's have a little listen to it. The amp is on, and quite a sort of distorted sound. Well, there you go, hope you enjoyed that one. Quirky little amp from the 60s, like the Selmas and a lot of little amps that were made back then. Very low power, not particularly great sounding, nice sort of funky grungy sound if you like that sort of thing. This was made by Dallas, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that at the opening of the video. It's a Dallas Scala. I've certainly never seen one before. So got it up and running again, and the customer has asked me to put a amp out, speaker in facility on the back, which I've done, because apparently he wants to put an attenuator on it. It's already quite quiet, but apparently he plays in a flat or something and he can't make much noise, so he's going to run this through an attenuator at full power, so that should be quite interesting. Anyway, thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.